Hello, everybody. This is Jeff again in Beijing for a quick Radio Sinoland program about the uh, bomb that or bombs that were dropped from the Myanmar side of the border into China this last week, injuring 5 people. I think I know who's doing it, so please listen. Um, on on May 14th, two shells fell across the border into China, injuring 5 people on the Chinese side. Two were seriously wounded. And it's another serious incident after the stray bomb from a plane flying in from Myanmar killed 5 Chinese and injured 8 in China's Yunnan province on March 13th. Just to show you the kind of the way the Chinese think versus the Western colonialists like the United States and Europe and Israel do, where when something like this happens, they massively retaliate regardless of the loss of innocent life, and then ask questions later. I want to quote very liberally just from an article that was in the Chinese press. And here's what it says. Of course, it takes time and careful investigation to draw any conclusion. The chaotic situation in Myanmar and the closeness of the exchanges of fire between its rebel and government forces to the border may make it possible for the artillery troops that made mistakes. It is also possible somebody did it intentionally. The Chinese public was furious on Thursday. Some even called for revenge. It is natural. Any country would have a similar reaction. But here comes the problem, says China's leaders. Whom are you going to take revenge on? Myanmar? It is not China's enemy. If this shelling was intentional, we need to find out exactly who did it. If it was an accident, we need to cooperate with the Myanmar government to root out a repetition. It might cheer the Chinese public, cheer them up if we answered by firing back a series of shells towards where the original shells came from. But if we do it without intensive investigation to find firm proof, the consequences will be unpredictable. The outside world would read this as China's revenge, which is what some ill-minded people have hoped for. Whatever measures China will take in response to this incident, a thorough investigation must be conducted first. China can demand Myanmar's full cooperation in this investigation and make sure it is conducted carefully, and the result must be true. Only targeted measures can hit whoever is responsible for the incident and prevent it from happening again. If we fire back towards where the stray shells came from, we may also kill innocent people. It does not meet China's national interests, and neither will it do any good to the border residents' long-term safety. We must be resolute in safeguarding our border residents' safety. However, we must stay sober in the way we protect them, unquote. Does this sound like a hegemonistic, saber-rattling, bloodthirsty, warmongering power to you? No, this is the way China is handling it. And it is true. There's no way that Myanmar would, drop bombs or shells on the Chinese. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. There is a oil line, an oil pipeline, and a gas pipeline running from Yunnan, China, down to the coast of Burma. And nor would the rebels who are seeking independence in Myanmar, why would they do it and risk retaliation? And but I tell you who I think I know is doing who has done this, and it's a perfect modus operandi for a group that has an organization that has been in that part of Asia since the 1950s, and that's the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA. For those of you who don't want to remember about, Iran-Contra back in the 80s, and with the CIA being involved running drugs into the United States, and to pay for missiles to ship to Iran, as well as to fund the Contras to help kill about 250,000 uh, uh, innocents in Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. Well, that was just the tip of the iceberg. If you need to research Menas, MENAS, Arkansas, which back during when Bill Clinton was governor, everybody knew was a colossal multi-billion-dollar CIA operation to ship cocaine from South America into the United States. It was untouchable, and Bobby Seale, the famous CIA pilot, etc. Just Google all this and you'll find out about it. And of course, that was the cocaine that was cooked into crack, which destroyed cities like Detroit, neighborhoods like Watts, Newark, South Chicago, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for the Golden Triangle, northern Burma and northern Laos and northern Thailand, that has been a kingdom of the CIA going back again into the 1950s to orchestrate and protect drug lords there to grow opium and harvest it and purify it into heroin for shipment into Europe and North America. And it is a known, it's a known, just do your homework, the rebels in Burma are aided, abetted, provided arms, money, material, etc., to create havoc in Burma, which is now called Myanmar. Why? In order to destabilize the border with China. The United States has been trying to contain and frustrate and intimidate and screw up China's borders since 1949 in Tibet, Xinjiang, and Burma. And of course, the CIA would love for that oil and gas pipeline to be blown up and screwed up so that China and Burma cannot profit from the oil pipeline between China and Burma. Part of the problem is that for years the military junta in Burma was extremely corrupt for decades and decades, and knew and worked with the CIA and the drug lords and profited billions of dollars to protect all of this going on within their borders. So this would be a classic MO of the CIA to get the rebels to shoot a few shells or fly an old, of course the CIA has all kinds of airplanes, and to fly an airplane over the Chinese border, and drop a bomb and kill a few people. Again, hoping that the Chinese would retaliate and seek that revenge that some Chinese citizens were howling for. But you saw I just read the Chinese response. I think the Chinese are responding this way because, first off, it's in their nature, and second off, they know they have the Ministry of State Security, which is their equivalent of the CIA/National Security Agency, and they, of course, know more than likely who is dropping these bombs. They have satellites and can see what's going on, and if they don't, I'm sure the Russians would provide them with whatever photographs they would need if they happen to not have them. So I think the reason that the Chinese are being very, very guarded about this is because they know that this is another one of the thousands of tiny, irritants that the United States, through the CIA and its proxies in Burma, Tibet and Xinjiang have been, and also from Taiwan even earlier, back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, have been perpetrating on China to try to destabilize the government and hopefully eventually overthrow it. And if you, of course, read my Reflections in Sinoland column, which will soon be a book this summer, an ebook, you can read all about it there also. So there you have it. There's a very, very strong chance that what's going on between Burma and China is are basically CIA false flags to try to get the Chinese to respond and create a little border war between China and Myanmar. And of course, the Chinese are way too astute to take the bait. Have a great evening, and looking forward to hearing any comments or emails you'd like to send. Bye-bye.